We've got two sports headlining this week's list, including a card that's, well, back in the news, as well as a quarterback who made a comeback that nobody saw coming. I'm breaking it all down today in the top 5 cards. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Top 5 Cards Going Up. My name is Tyler Nethercott, better known as Teapot, filling in for Jeff this week. And while baseball playoffs are teeing off finally, and my Tigers, as well as the Braves, are ready to make a deep postseason run, this week it's basketball and football dominating the list. And we've got a couple of sneaky cards and players who you didn't see coming on this list. As always, this top 5 is sponsored by Whatnot. Whatnot has awesome live auctions every day and night, starting at just $1. For packs, boxes, breaks, singles, and more. It's a lot of fun, and if you scan the QR code on your screen or use the special link in our show description below, you'll get $15 in free credit when you sign up for Whatnot. Now let's take a look at the overall sports card market with Market Pulse by Market Movers. Over the last 7 days, the SCI 500 index of the 500 most prominent sports cards is up 2%. Over the last 30 days, the SCI 500 is up 1%, and since January 1st of 2024, it is up 5.2%. The best performing category of cards over the last 30 days is hockey from 1990 to 1999, which is up a whopping 15.6%. And the worst performing category is baseball from 2000 to 2009, which is down 13.1%. As a reminder, the cards you'll see in today's show have gone up in price recently, but they are not necessarily good investments right now. Always do your own research to decide which cards you think will go up in value next. All right, as always, we start out this week's episode with a cold card, and this one, actually, it hurts. And it is Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. After a quick 1-0 start to begin the season, the Dolphins and their high-flying offense have since been winless over the last 3 weeks as they work through their quarterback issues. In Week 2's matchup against the Bills, Tua suffered another concussion. Tua's become prone to concussions as he suffered 3 in the 2022 season. His history with concussions has many neurologists and experts starting to wonder if Tua shouldn't retire, as the long-term side effects from multiple concussions are serious, especially on the heels as well, with Brett Favre coming out and saying that he's been diagnosed with Parkinson's. All of Tua's cards, as tracked by Market Movers, are down 18.4% collectively over the last 30 days on 645 different cards, totaling 2,200 sales. And I've got a sampling of Tua's cards here. I'm on the price changes by percentage chart here, and you can see all of his cards moving down. So I can pop this open, and something that's new in Market Movers, if you haven't seen this, we threw this chart into our little flyout feature so that you can easily get a snapshot of individual cards. So first I'm looking at his field level silver rookie out of Select from 2020, and this card was trading for upwards of almost $200 at the end of August, has since come down to $83. That's a $120 decline on his field level silver. We've got his Prism base, PSA 10, Pop 37.35. This card was up around $80. Most recently now down to $38.99. We've got his Optic Holo PSA 10, similar story. This one was trending up in the $150, $175 range, now down to $86. You've got his Prism rookie autographs in PSA 9. This card actually topped out on September 4th at a $555 sale. That one most recently having sold for $330. And then finally his Optic base card here in PSA 10 condition, now down to just $20, roughly $20, after being up in sort of the $45 to $50 range less than a month ago. So unfortunately for Dolphins fans, unfortunately for fans of those wide receivers on the Dolphins, as well as those who are holding Tua cards, he is our cold card of the week. All right, moving on, we look at our investment card this week. This is the card that's got some more long-term staying power and a proven track record. All of the greats from different sports leagues, and this week it is Pistol Pete Maravich, the shooting guard, former shooting guard for the Atlanta Hawks, the New Orleans and Utah Jazz, as well as the Boston Celtics. Pistol Pete was an absolute legend in American basketball, both collegiate and NBA. He's considered one of the greatest scorers in the history of the sport. And Pistol Pete is still the all-time leading NCAA Division I men's scorer with 3,667 points and an average of 44.2 points per game. Can you imagine what the sports card market would be doing today if a collegiate player were averaging 44 points per game? Now, Maravich played 10 seasons in the NBA and was named to 5 All-Star teams. He led the league in scoring in 1977, and he was named to the NBA's 50th and 75th anniversary teams. Unfortunately, Pistol Pete unexpectedly passed away in 1988 at the age of 40 due to heart failure. We're looking at some of his cards here, and this is obviously his iconic 1970 Topps Tall Boy rookie card, the green background. You can see in a PSA 9 condition, this card sold for $15,000 recently on September 28. And one of the nice things, we can actually pop this open and we can sort of see the price trajectory on this one. This has actually seen some nice price appreciation over the last year, having moved up from in the like $8,000 range, basically having doubled in 2024 on that price. And you can see, I mean, when it comes to vintage and these iconic rookie cards, one of the nice things is it makes it really easy to just pick the card, because there tends to only be one card for most of these players, one rookie card, or at least one most important rookie card. So if you're into collecting GOATs and their best cards, makes it very simple in vintage. And then obviously you can just look at the different grade conditions to figure out what fits your budget, to look at the eye appeal and all of that. But you can see a big, big, big difference between a PSA 9, which last sold for $15,000, and the PSA 8, which actually sold for $2,000 recently. So that has everything to do with the pop counts. 494 PSA 8s if I pop this open. Whereas if I look at this, you've got 87 PSA 9s, and if I click this open, only 2 PSA 10s, only 2 PSA 10s. So the higher the grade in vintage, that tends to be the name of the game. And Pistol Pete this week is our investment card of the week. All right, we're moving on to our hot card list of this week, and at number 5, it is actually Derek Carr, the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. The Saints had an unexpected strong start to the season after blowing out the Panthers and the Cowboys. They were putting up 40+. Everybody's sort of saying, what's going on? The Saints look like the real deal. They've got weapons. Alvin Kamara's back in the mix and doing things. Carr looked to be in primetime condition in those two games, throwing for a combined 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. But the Saints have stepped back a little bit. They're now 2-2, and they find themselves in a similar situation as last season. After Sunday's game, Carr told the reporters that his team is in much better position than last year's team, which did finish 9-8. All of Carr's cards, as tracked by market movers, are up 15.6% collectively over the last month on 96 different cards, totaling 391 sales. We've got a little sampling of those cards here. I'm going to pop this open. I can see there's honestly not a ton of graded stuff. So Carr's rookie year, 2014, obviously, before the sports card market really took off and started to garner a lot of more interest, and Carr had already kind of like, well, his ship had already sailed mostly. People were high on him maybe back then. He had sort of cooled down. His prices has cooled down, and that's why we don't see a ton of different rookie cards for Carr graded. There are 2,300 PSA 10s of this Topps Chrome base card, and that card over the last 30 days, somebody scooped this for $15, $14, and then in the $20 range, and then most recently this card has spiked up into the $40 and even $50 range. So people starting to look a little more bullish on Carr. That division, well, it looks kind of up in the air right now. It's like the Falcons are playing well, kind of. You've got the Bucks who, look good. Baker was on this list, I believe, a few weeks ago. So it's kind of up in the air right now. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out. Some people probably looking to move out of these cards, maybe having scooped these or held them down in the $20 range, now selling them for double their money. So this one's up, what do we say, 251% technically from sale to sale during this 30-day period. Here's his Prism base card, only 414 of these. Remember, Prism from like 2012, 13, 14, 15 was not heavily printed. It was not a heavily printed product, so pop counts tend to be much lower on Prism from those years. And this card actually sold for $30 on September 7th, most recently sold for $40. So that's a 33% increase in value. You've got his Prism Silver Raw. This card Raw up 92%. One of the other nice things about the flyout here, when you pop this open, we actually have all the information, the pricing information, everything in here. You can see the pop counts. You can get quick data here from all the different prices. So the PSA 10, that card sold for $126. I can look at the last year and look at how much this one has gone up. $67 back in May. You could have bought this Derek Carr 6 months ago. Now up to $126. So not bad price movement. Finally, we'll look at his Orange Refractor Raw. This one also seeing price appreciation, and it's pretty significant, honestly. Somebody's scooping these for really cheap. This is probably a sale with shipping costs factored into it, and all of a sudden this card's spiking up, going up in the $20 range. So I always say when we're going into a season or you're going into a postseason, so you're heading to the regular season for any sport, you're heading into the postseason, if you've got these players who hold important positions on their team, starting quarterbacks or certain, I don't know, positional players in baseball or somebody who's made the starting lineup in basketball. Keep them organized, make sure you know where they are, because you always have these kinds of players who suddenly break out, at least for a short period. That's a really good time to sell them if you're interested in, if you're not attached to those cards, if they're not cards that are specifically for your collection, you can move on from those cards, put that money back into the rest of your collection or something else that you need that money for. This week's number 5 card is Derek Carr. All right, at number 4 this week, it is a quarterback with some serious name lineage, and it is Arch Manning, the quarterback for the Texas Longhorns. The Longhorns are one of the best teams in college football this season, and in their Week 2 game against UTSA, their starter, Quinn Ewers, who's also very highly touted, suffered an injury that put Arch into the limelight, where he threw for 4 touchdowns and had a 67-yard touchdown run. Now, Manning has taken over the starting role while Ewers recovers, and Arch has really excelled. Now, full disclosure, I own exactly 0 Arch Manning cards, but I am here to say that this kid, this 19-year-old kid, can play football. The touch on some of his passes is seriously unreal. I've been watching some of his highlights and a little bit of the games. He has really impressed me. In the first 2 starts, he has lived up to his last name by throwing for 582 yards and 4 touchdowns. For the season, he has completed 71% of his passes for 900 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he also has 3 rushing touchdowns. All of his cards as tracked by Market Movers are up 24% collectively over the last 30 days. Obviously not a ton of his cards out right now. We've got 15 different cards that we're tracking in Market Movers with sales on 37 sales over the last month. This is collegiate stuff. There's cards from the National. So let's take a look at some of these cards over the last 30 days. Here's his Prism Draft Picks Sunday Star Signatures Raw. And this card was sold for $380 on September 3rd. That card now up to $550 in less than a month's time. So somebody making a really nice profit on that card for sure. Even just looking at this card, which came out of the National packs, this is his rated rookie out of the Panini National Convention packs, the gold packs. This card raw, selling for $32, now up to $65. This is definitely the kind of card that right now, while people are looking to speculate and they just want to get in the action on Arch Manning, this card's going to see life. Long term, as more cards come out, as different cards come out, this is not the type of card that I'd personally want to be holding. These cards tend to go down in value over time as real rookie cards and other more significant sets release. So keep that in mind with a card like this. Here's a card that may have some more staying power, especially if he does, turn out to be a legendary Texas quarterback. This is his Prism Color Blast out of Prism Draft Picks. Color Blast, obviously very popular cards. This card down for $550, $600, now has spiked up to $1,000 and most recently $1,250. That's 127% price appreciation over the last month. This is a nice looking card. This picture's not capturing the shine. These cards look very nice in hand, but this is another one from the silver packs from the 2023 National. Rare cards here in PSA 10 condition, Pop 5. We can see scrolling down raw, these do about $178. So if you are holding a raw copy of this card, maybe go check out and look to see what the condition is and consider getting it graded, because this card went from $825 up to $1,300 on the most recent sale. And then last, we've got a Blue Sparkle to $149. This is a National Convention card as well, PSA 10, from $183 up to $255 over the last month. So Arch Manning is on fire. Texas looks really good. Be really interesting to see what they do with that quarterback situation the rest of the season, if Ewers can return to form or if they just keep rolling with Arch, who's been playing fantastic. He is our number 4 card this week. All right, at number 3 this week, who saw this one coming? It is Mark Jackson, the point guard who played for a multitude of teams over his 17-year career. And with this one, well, we're just reporting the news, folks. Mark Jackson has made his way into this week's top 5, but not due to anything that he himself has done recently. Instead, he finds himself on this week's top 5 due to the recent release of a Netflix drama about the infamous Menendez brothers, who happened to be sitting on the courtside in the background of this 1990 Hoops card. So I'll pull this card up, and you can see there they are in the background. We all know about the Ja Morant card with all the different rappers and the Blindside parents in the background and how that card took off. sometimes it's not about the player featured on the card, it's about the people in the crowd in the background, and that is certainly the case here. This drama on Netflix quickly shot to the top of the charts for them and seemed to apparently have sparked some buzz in the hobby. So this card definitely seeing a lot of life in all grades. Here we have the PSA 10 condition, just 212 of these. So while this is a very old card, check your centering on the card, and if the centering looks good and the edges and the surface and the corners, maybe consider sending this one into PSA to get it graded, because even in spite of the recent surge, which is sure to come down over the next probably month to 2 months, this card was still going for $400 in PSA 10 condition before it started to take off, most recently having sold for $674, a 68.5% increase in value. Same story, even if you have one that's not maybe 10 condition, or you think even if you get a 9, still worth getting it graded. This one's Pop 2414, and this card's also seen a lot of life. Was transacting around the $40 range and has gone up into the $100 and $120, $140 range. So even if this one does come back down, for 20 bucks you get it graded, it's probably worth doing. Raw condition tends to be $18, $15, but typically these are selling for around $5. So check the condition on your cards. This Mark Jackson card has been spiking due to the documentary. Are there any other documentaries coming out soon that I need to know about? Let me know down in the comments so we can all get ahead of the curve. This week's card is Mark Jackson and the Menendez brothers at number 3. All right, at number 2 this week, it's a player and a trade that I'm just not too happy about. It's the center Karl Anthony Towns, now of the New York Knicks. Big blockbuster preseason trade that I personally didn't see coming. We've been hearing about Towns to the Knicks, rumors of Towns to the Knicks for literally about 3-4 years. It's been a long time. People kept saying Towns is going to go to the Knicks. There was a while where I was holding a bunch of his rookie cards and saying, okay, I'm waiting. In fact, I actually had a bunch of his rookie cards on COMC from Select, priced very cheap at like $2. And when this trade was announced, all 8 of those copies instantly sold on COMC. Somebody was all over it and went and picked up those cards. But basically what happened is the Knicks made a trade to send my guy Donte DiVincenzo of the Villanova squad that they went and worked to bring in. So they had the Villanova guys, they had Brunson, they brought in Bridges, they had Hart, they had Donte DiVincenzo, who really started to come into his own last year and show that he could score in the big time moments and play defense. And I was really excited about seeing that squad in the NBA playing together. And then they sent Julius Randle, the former Kentucky Wildcat, plus Donte DiVincenzo over to the Minnesota Timberwolves in return for Towns back to the Knicks. Now, Knicks fans have had pretty mixed feelings about Randle in general because he's had a few playoffs where he didn't play well. He's had injury problems. I can understand wanting to move on and seeing that as an upgrade. But when you look at like the ESPN projections and other betting odds, this really didn't move the needle for either team. I think it's the Timberwolves that maybe went up with like a half game on their expected win total, and the Knicks stayed flat. So I personally think this is a lose-lose for both teams, but we'll see how it plays out this year. Now, the Knicks are obviously hoping that Towns, a 2-time All-Star, 3-point shooting champion, will provide a much-needed boost to their offense and help them compete for a championship. The Knicks lost to the Indiana Pacers in the conference semifinals last year, and they hope to bring a championship home this year. All of Towns' cards, as tracked by Market Movers, are up 18.4% collectively over the last 30 days on 85 different cards, totaling 177 different sales. So we've got a good little sampling of rookie cards here for Towns over the last 30 days. His Prism base Pop 1442. This card was down. You can see this is what happened on COMC to me. $30, now all the way up to $65. I bet even if we drop this down to raw, these cards were trading in the probably $3 to $5 range. Those have spiked up into the $15 range. Here's his Prism Silver, BGS 9.5. People were grading still with BGS back then, far less common now. Went from $65 actually just on September 25th, now up to $155. So that's a huge increase in just basically a week's time, up 138% since that news. Same thing with his red, white, and blue trending upward. We've got his rookie Court Kings. By the way, I love this 2015 Court Kings set. The designs are fantastic, and I think these cards are kind of slept on personally. But on September 11th, $25 in PSA 10 condition, $75 now here at the end of September. And then finally, his Donruss base rookie, rated rookie card from $33 in the middle of September, most recently up to, well, $40. It's an increase of 20%, albeit only $7. So this week's number 2 card the trade I just didn't really love. It's Karl Anthony Towns. All right, that brings us to our number one hot card this week. But before we get into it, this data is always brought to you by Market Movers. Market Movers has over 4 million cards that we're tracking in our database. We've got a mobile app that's incredibly easy to use. We've got this web version. If you like to really get into the numbers and the charts, you got to go check out Market Movers. You can download it for free on the App Store and get a free 7-day trial. Try it out for free. Let us know what you think. You can also just use the search in the app completely for free. Try that out. You don't even need to sign up. Just download the app, test it out, test out the quick search, look at the data, take advantage of it, and make sure that you're never paying too much for any card or selling your cards for too little. Go download Market Movers from the App Store. All right, the number one hot card this week that literally nobody on planet Earth, not even Minnesota Vikings fans, saw coming going into this season. That is Sam Darnold, the former USC quarterback. And I got to say, nobody had the Vikings starting out 4-0 this year, being one of 2 remaining undefeated teams a quarter of the way, or almost a quarter of the way through the season. The Vikings have secured their 4th win of the season on Sunday after a really quick start against the Packers. They almost choked it away and gave up 22 points in the 4th quarter. But Darnold leads the league in touchdown passes with 11 and currently has the 3rd best quarterback rating this season. It's too early to tell probably, but his performance on the field has led to many tossing his name around for MVP this season. Can you believe that? The former 3rd overall pick has definitely surprised everyone who had low expectations. We had Darnold, who obviously got drafted by the Jets, who, much like the Bears, are notorious for just not being able to have a quarterback be good, a quarterback draft pick be good. He bounced over to the Panthers. It just has been a bizarre ride for Darnold and for his cards. Now, all of his cards, as tracked by Market Movers, are up 38.9% collectively over the last 30 days. That's on 268 different cards that we're tracking, totaling 1,300 sales. So let's take a look at some of these cards for Sam Darnold and pop this open. Here's his Prism base card from 2018 Prism. This is pop 1,296. Definitely some volatility on this card over the last month, but it was down around $20. It spiked up, it's come down, and most recently it's kind of settled into like the $50 range. So if you were holding these cards, they've definitely increased in value. We've got another card here that's his Premier Level Silver from Select Pop 133, PSA 10 condition, and this card was down around $26, now has spiked up to $82.40. We've got a National Treasures card here, one of his RPAs in PSA 9 condition. This is the True RPA to 99. This card on September 7th sold for $950. A month later, less than a month later, 3 weeks later, $2,740. That is a massive payday for whoever got that card, unless they were holding it from back in 2018 when his card prices were much higher. We've got his 2018 Donruss. This is Pop 1700 in PSA 10 condition. This one's seeing really nice steady growth, down in the $20 range, now spiking up into the $40 and most recently $60 range. And then finally, his base Optic PSA 10 Pop 569. This one again was down in that $30 range and has moved up into the $75 range. Now, one thing to note about 2018 Prism Silvers, very, very few of those cards from 2018. If we scroll down, you'll see this one is just Pop 51. So at Pop 51, these really don't show up very often. Comparing quarterback Prism Silver prices from year to year is very difficult because the pop counts fluctuated drastically depending on the year as well as the condition of the cards. So this one has not sold since Darnold really started to take off. So this card was actually, it's showing as down right now, was at $250 beginning of August, down to $210 just a week after that. How much do you think this card would sell for right now in any particular condition? It'll be really interesting to see. I'm sure we'll see some of these 51 cards, 51 PSA 10 Silvers surface, probably at least double in the $400 range. But right now, if you look across the board at this year's NFL season, it has been frankly really bizarre. For those of you playing fantasy football, you know this. It seems like, I don't know, 8 of the top 10 scoring quarterbacks were the guys drafted in the bottom third of every draft, or not even drafted. Sam Darnold went undrafted in both of my leagues. So really, really insane story. Obviously NFL, long season, 4 games in. We'll see what happens the rest of the way. Carr looked really good the first 2 weeks. Last 2 weeks, not so much. As a Lions fan, I did not expect the Vikings to be contending with us this year. I thought I'd have to worry about the Packers for the division. So I can't say I'm too thrilled about this so far, but we'll see how the rest of the season goes. And this week, Sam Darnold is our number 1 card going up. So that does it for this week's top 5 cards. Thanks so much for watching. Let us know who surprised you the most down below and who do you think is going to be on next week's list. As always, thanks so much for watching. Happy investing, keep on collecting, and make sure to have fun.